Whether you're caring for a spouse who's suffering from memory loss or a parent whose health is rapidly declining, it's important to know services are out there. Creating New Hope is on a mission to inform, educate, and inspire the lives of family caregivers. Join us as we interview industry leaders and experts in the geriatric care space. Our mission is to create hope in the lives of caregivers.
All right. Good morning, Brenda. Can you please introduce yourselves and tell us about your business?
Yes, my name is Brenda Dickinson, and I'm the director of the Life Enhancing Activity Program. And what we do, myself and along with a couple other recreational therapists, that's what I am, have my degree in that, and an activity director. We have for many, many years, over 25 years, been going into residential care homes for the elderly, what they call boarding care homes. That's our target area. And we've been providing, meaningful and enjoyable and engageable activities for the residents that live there. We don't go into some of the larger places because they have a full-time activity director. So that's kind of our target. We also do one-on-one. I've done one-on-one recreational therapy with clients, and we can talk a little bit more about that. And let's see, I got into recreational therapy. I love working with special populations, and I decided that working with the elderly was really where my heart was. I worked at John Muir Medical Center on the rehab unit in Walnut Creek as a rec therapist. Didn't like the clinical, but really enjoyed working with the patients and the residents. So I also had my own board and care home for 6 years, and I ended up selling it for some personal reasons. And I loved it very much. I have also worked at elder care services in Walnut Creek as a geriatric care manager for a while. But my passion lies in providing activities for elderly people. And the reason must be because I see the benefit. I see things happen to people that don't happen when they're not doing things.
Yes.
And I see wonderful things happen when they get engaged and socialized. And so, right now is a really hard time for people, especially, people who are caring for their loved ones at home. And I know, Christine, you're providing this wonderful service for people to do, placement and support for them, for families. And my heart goes out to anybody who is trying to take care of their loved one when they're maybe would want to be placed in a community for more emotional and physical support for their loved one, but they don't feel safe doing that right now. And so now you're not only the caregiver, you're everything. You're the caregiver, you're the shopper, you're the cleaner, you're the house cleaner, you're everything for your loved one. And then you're trying to come up with things to do to keep your loved one engaged and happy and entertained. And my heart goes out to you.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and that's exactly what we're hearing from families is maybe I held off a little too long and I never placed my loved one in a community, so I'm bringing them home. So now you're seeing, mostly women that are taking care of their own children who are home now and their parents. So they're really juggling, how do I keep everyone engaged and not go crazy myself?
Exactly, because we want to take care of you. You're the caregiver. You're number one, really.
Yeah. So do you have like a caregiver journey story, how you got into this field, or just what happened?
I got into this field just through my education. I've actually have my degree in this from many, many years ago. And then I really decided that I loved doing activities, and nobody was really doing activities in the board and care home setting. And so I just literally started going in and doing music and exercise and engaging activities for the residents. And then it just kind of grew. And then I've added on some girls that also are independent contractors who we all work together and brainstorm, come up with ideas. And I've developed about 100 different programs that we do. Today, I'm not going to talk too much about programs because the programs are really best in a group setting. But I've just kept doing this because I love it. And I love to see the benefit of what how people feel when you get done. I've gone into care homes when everybody's, like this,
Hmm.
sleeping, not engaged, completely kind of out of it, so to speak. And we bring people around a table and we engage, we talk, and sometimes it's hard because people can't hear you. So
Yeah.
I facilitate conversation and say, did you hear what John said? Hey, Mary, did you hear what John said? This is what they said. And then we can start some nice connection for the residents. And that's the one thing I really want families to know is that it's really just about making a connection with your loved one. And I want people to know, I want people to take the pressure off of themselves. There's a
Mm.
lot of pressure right now for people. And to remember that when it comes to activity, it's really about the process, not the outcome. You know, there's been many times that I've done a craft, let's say, or a program with an elderly person, and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But we've had so much fun in the process of doing it. So it's not the outcome, it is really the process and trying the best that we all can at this point of being in the moment because that's all we have, especially those with dementia. They have just a moment. So
Yeah.
whatever you're doing in that moment is so important. It's critical.
Yeah. And, when I was taking care of my grandmother, so I used to run a licensed childcare program. So I still
Mhm.
had a lot of like my daycare stuff and easels and stuff like that. And when I became her 100% full-time caregiver, I'd bring her out in the backyard and we'd do some painting. Well, she wouldn't do the painting. She'd just kind of sit there and maybe I'd get a line. But
That's
I
yeah,
really thought, you know what, this is more therapeutic for me. Just because she knows we're out here, we're sitting outside, she's looking at the birds, she sees me here, she's getting
exactly.
engaged at least with some new colors and textiles. Um, and then I thought, well, she didn't get a picture out today, but it was really a good break for
Yeah,
me.
you connected with her.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe somebody's watching birds outside, putting a bird feeder out and sitting them in front and looking at birds. And maybe that's enough for them. Maybe that's enough activity. Or you can take it further and say, maybe let's start making a list of birds that we've seen. We could get a book that
Yeah.
you can identify birds. Maybe you want to say, let's count how many birds we've seen today and keep track of them. That's an activity. Maybe it's sitting and they can watch you while you're cooking. And maybe just watching is enough activity for them. Or you can say, I'm making a pot of spaghetti. What do you think we need to make spaghetti? Or talking to them while you're doing that. I'm cutting up an onion. So much of it is conversation right now that we can have with our loved ones to really keep them engaged if they can focus on what you're doing. You can even take that further. You could say, let's make chocolate chip cookies. What kind of ingredients do we need to make a chocolate chip cookie? So you can grow activities by starting very simply, or you can grow it to make it a little bit more complicated, more thought processes, depending on where the person is. There was a resident the other day. She lives at an assisted living community in Walnut Creek, and I was trying to do a virtual activity. So we're also doing some one-on-one virtual activities with people who are living in communities or living at home, trying to engage them. And I could not do anything with her. She was not focused on me. But
Mm.
what I could see is that she was watching everybody walk around. She was just doing this. And I don't know if she didn't hear me. There was something going on, but she was really enjoying watching the people walking by her. And I told the owner, I said, that's a great activity for her. Let her watch people.
Yeah.
Sit on the front porch, watch cars, talk about what you're seeing, keeping people oriented. I take a client out. Sometimes I do a virtual walk with a client that I'm doing virtual activities with. He's got severe dementia. I take him for a walk and I say, let's look at what do we see?
Mm.
And if he can't tell me, I tell him, oh my gosh, look there's a bird. There's a beautiful flower. Then I might ask him, what color is the flower? And then we look at the sky. And we just kind of take in what's around us to keep us focused. because that's really what it's about. It's keeping somebody focused. It's really important to limit distractions for people, especially those with dementia. So if you're trying to get somebody to pay attention to you and do something, it's better if their TV's off, their radio's off, and your phone's off, because once there's something distracting them, people talking behind them, it's harder for people to concentrate.
Yeah.
So I want to recommend a book.
All right.
This is called, it's the simplest book you'll ever read. It's called Creating Moments of Joy, by Jolene Brackley. I don't have a website right now, so I think that Christine's going to write some resources down for you. It's the simplest little book. She just talks about how to create moments of joy. It really is very simply put, and I recommend it for people, especially those taking care of loved ones, because it takes some of the pressure off. Because sometimes you can make something fun out of really kind of nothing. And what I kind of would like to do is go by and talk a little bit about each activity as specific. I know we don't have too much time, but I refer to a website called goldencarers.com. Okay. That's GOLDEN carers.com. It has a wealth of activities, things that you can print out, you can read to your loved one. Just lots of activity ideas that I use them quite a bit, and it's very inexpensive. It's only like $50 a year.
Oh, wow. Okay, good.
Highly recommend them. I print out things, and you can see there's just a wealth of information for somebody if they really want to start working and doing more activities with their loved ones. But also, the internet has been incredibly helpful, especially for those at home right now. Google, because you can do virtual museum tours. You can sit your loved one next to you, and you can tour the Louvre. You can tour the Metropolitan Museum of Art. You can.
I know that. That is really cool.
That is so cool. There's a huge list. All you have to do is Google virtual museums, and you will find all sorts of museums to tour. Also, you can vacation together. So maybe you could ask your loved one, where would you like to go today? So I wanted to go to Paris. No, I wanted to go to France to see the lavender fields in Provence. That's something I've always wanted to do. I love lavender. So on Saturday, on YouTube, actually, I was on YouTube there, and I just Googled lavender fields in Provence, and I toured about 3 different lavender fields in Provence.
Wow.
Then I wanted to go to Europe, so I went to Europe. You can do everything on YouTube, especially. There's live cams that are cameras that are set up in zoos and places around the world that are recording live animals and things like that might be fun for your loved one. Go to a garden. Mm-hmm. You can tour gardens. You can observe and discuss animals. So let's say you're looking at a live cam of a panda bear. Well, now you Google panda bears, and maybe you want to learn something about panda bears with your loved one.
Yeah.
It's really one thing I've learned for sure is that when I work with somebody, especially those with dementia, and I tell them we're going to learn something today, it makes people feel like she thinks I can learn something. Mm-hmm. Maybe they can't really learn something. Maybe they're not going to remember what we did, but they think that I think that they can remember. Yeah. And so that kind of raises them up to the occasion. And I find that it makes people feel empowered.
Yes. Yeah.
And especially with people that have dementia, your self-esteem can be really affected. You don't feel you can do things anymore. So by doing things with them, it empowers people. It makes people feel like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
If somebody's starting to get frustrated, you don't want to do it, right?
Yeah.
And we all know that what may work one day may not work the next day. Yeah. And the next day, you may try it and it'll work.
Yeah.
So you have to keep trying different things to see what works. There's a website, I want you to write this down, Christine. Just in Google. No, it's not a website. If you would Google Alzheimer's, San Diego, activities, coronavirus. There's a very good handout that they made, not a handout, excuse me, information about dementia and caregiving coronavirus cognitively stimulating activities that you can do at home. They have some really good resources in there. So that's a good website. Or not a website, Google that and you'll get to their website.
So some questions I do have for you.
Okay.
What are some common items like around the house that folks can put together for like an activities box where maybe I wouldn't think, oh yeah, that could be an activity, and you would say, well, no, put this and this together and we're good to go.
Well, I mean, there's lots of things. It just depends on what the interests and the abilities are of your loved one. I can show you some things like if your loved one likes to read or can look at books, I'm going to show you a couple ideas. If somebody with more severe dementia, I'm going to target more dementia. Is that what you would
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to show you somebody that has a more severe dementia, a book like this that you can get on Amazon called The Happy Book.
Okay.
Is very easy, and I have lots of these because they're just a single picture of a baby
Yeah.
with a little word. And so people can thumb through these books. I was working with a man the other day who's non-responsive, nonverbal, doesn't respond very well at all. And he wasn't responding to me doing an activity virtually, which is hard for him anyways. And I put this book up with the babies, and he said, "Oh, look, there's a baby." There you go.
Yeah. You know, when my grandmother would have me, maybe just a little agitation, or I could just tell like we were going to have one of those days, I had the old school baby Einstein activity DVDs, and I would put them on, and they were baby faces that, you know, you'd get the big sunshine and the smiling baby, and it would really change her disposition.
That's a good point, because sometimes, even though we're working with these adults and we want to provide them with dignity as much as possible, sometimes their cognitive ability and their emotional ability is really more childlike.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful because we don't want to insult anybody's intelligence, but sometimes childlike activities can be really good. I was at a care home and I put on Daniel Tiger.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I saw the residents who have more severe dementias really responding because it was easy for them to understand. You don't want to put a bunch of news on, and that can really be disturbing for people because it becomes very real to them.
Yeah.
So you want to simplify. So television, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I'll show you about your little toolbox. Here's another book. This is made by Shadowbox Print. Let me show you. I'll tell you what it is. It's called Shadowbox Press. You can buy these, I believe, on Amazon. These are books. This one's on wild animals. I don't like the fact that they have these words down at the bottom. An interactive book for memory impaired adults. I don't like anybody to see that. I always cover that up when I'm going to work with them. I don't do this, but I just kind of cover up the words. I don't want to remind them. But these are great because they have pictures. This would be, I've done this with people who are very high functioning too, because they love to read and learn. Mm-hmm. You know, it gives you a picture of an animal.
Oh yeah.
And then it gives you, let me see, information and then a question. So in your little activity toolbox, it's nice to have some books that meet the person's ability, their cognitive ability. Maybe it's just a picture book, which is fine. Maybe it's a travel book. Maybe it's one of these books that has animals in it. Maybe it's whatever they're interested in. Also, a book of photographs of your old photographs of pictures of family members is great. And if they don't know who that person is, it's nice to put a little tab with the name of the person. Or you could say, this was your mother, Anna, or So it really reminds them. And if they can't read it, you can read it to them. This was your mother's Anna. This was your mother Anna. So that's a nice little thing to have in a toolbox. There's photographs and some books. You could add a, some games, very simple games. Like you could take, I buy these on Amazon. There's some cards, colors, and patterns. And then you just take a card and you match it. Like the diamond goes with the diamond. But you could also take a deck of cards and just put the diamonds, the clubs, the spades, and the hearts, and have people pile them on top of one another. That's a great idea. And also a good game is called high-low. So you give somebody 10 cards, and you say, I have an 8. Do you think that it, and you tell them, do you think the next card will be higher or lower? Higher or lower. Very easy to do. Matching games, you can do solitaire with somebody. A deck of cards is always a good thing to have in your little toolbox. If you want to go a little further, something I ordered on Amazon is called Aqua Paint. This is fun.
Ooh.
Have you ever seen these, Christine?
Well, I seen in your presentation, so I remember this.
Aqua Paint. These are fun. This is a no-fail activity. Sometimes crafts and art can be a little threatening for people. So, you know,
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be threatening because sometimes there's a right and a wrong way to do something. And you don't want to do anything that's right or wrong. You want just failure-free as much as possible.
Yeah.
But all you do
I'm already cleaning up after the kids at home. I don't want another mess.
Exactly. You don't want another mess. These are easy things. There's lots of other ideas. And I would like to give you my email at the end of this. So
Sure, absolutely.
So all you do with this is look at this as a blank card. And once you start adding water to it, it comes up with a picture.
Nice. Now, are those reusable?
They're reusable. Oh my gosh. They're over and over and over again. So I did this in 2 seconds, and look at that.
Oh, that is nice.
Okay. I worked with a client who has severe Parkinson's, who had never done anything crafty. He was a businessman, and we used to do that every week together. He loved it. They come in different animals, different kind of pictures that are fun for people. That's easy. And also, you can download on, where did my picture go? I had a bigger picture for you. Oh, here it is. This is from Golden Carers. This is called a Mosaic picture. This could be in your toolbox, a little bit of coloring or drawing. You can see the green is where I started drawing. And I try not to call it coloring because that sounds childish. So I call it drawing. You want to do some drawing. This one's a little complicated, as you can see. You have to be able to see pretty well and have some good dexterity. But I use these. Make sure you try and use the bigger markers.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're easier to hold. Markers are easier than pencils. Pencils are harder. You don't show the colors. So markers are great. This could keep somebody busy for quite a long time. So let's say you need a break, right? Give somebody something to do if they like to color. And then you can also go and find easier things to color, like a pot of tulips. It's easier. The most important thing is that there's a dark boundary. When there's a dark boundary, you can see better.
Yeah.
If somebody goes on the outside, big deal. You know what I do? I cut it out when I'm done. Cut it out. You don't even see them if they think they've made mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, there's easy. Let's say you want to talk about birds one day. There's an easy bird. And, you know, if you feel comfortable, I've done this with people, just if you can, get some watercolor paper. Watercolor paper is great. And get some Crayola watercolors and maybe use a bigger paintbrush and see what people come up with. Watercolors are pretty easy because they kind of lend itself, they spread, the watercolors spread. You can wet the paper and then it spreads around and it can turn out really pretty. And then you could cut out a pattern if you want. and somebody feels like they've done something. That's what it's about. Making people feel like they've accomplished something.
Yeah. By
Go
the
ahead.
time that I was taking care of my grandmother, my daughter probably at the time was maybe 7 years old. And anytime, like if it was my cooking and cleaning time while my grandfather was at dialysis, I would put Soleil in charge of the activities. So she would say, hey, Grandma Teresa, can you help me with my homework? And just kind of let them doodle along. And it
Doodle along. It
really worked.
Put a little music, put a little
Yeah.
light music on in the background. You've got yourself going there. It's a great thing. If somebody's feeling kind of agitated, if you have a loved one that's agitated, the old give them a ball of yarn to wind is, it's like this is kind of a traditional activity for people that have dementia. The reason this works is because it's not demanding. You're just doing something over and over and over again. It doesn't take a lot of thought process.
Yeah.
So something like this, or sorting something. Let somebody empty your dishwasher and sort your forks, your knives, your spoons. Sort your socks. Sort your washcloths. When I had my care home, I had a whole bin that was just filled with washcloths and towels, and I would give them to the residents to fold, and then we would put them back in the bin, and the next day we would take them out again. It was just an activity.
Yeah.
It was just fun for them. Let them help you.
Yeah.
If you can. Another fun thing to do that you can order on Amazon or another website I'll give you are puzzles. This is one of my favorite puzzles. I've used it so much. It only has 36 pieces. It's put out by Springbok. And the thing is that the pieces are really big.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. Plus, it's such a pretty puzzle. When you're done, you put it away. And if they don't remember, then you can do it again the next day. No problem.
Now, you were going to say something about the TV. What were you going to say about turning off the TV?
You can turn off the TV, but the TV can be a big tool for you now, too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be if you're using it correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with watching TV, but if you go on Amazon Prime, hopefully some of you have Amazon Prime and you have streaming, they have amazing exercise videos that you can follow. Some of them they charge a little bit, and some of them are free. They are designed. Share Yoga with Shannon. Sit and Be Fit is actually on TV. Yoga for senior women over 50. Some of that is standing. It has some standing. Great resource can be Amazon Prime or Netflix to get people moving. You can also, stream YouTube.
Yeah.
Now YouTube, I told you about YouTube, but you can stream movies and look up on Google, just, favorite movies or popular movies of the 1940s, popular movies of the 1950s, especially musicals, The Wizard of Oz, The Sound of Music, Oklahoma. I don't know when the last time you saw On Golden Pond. It's a beautiful movie that the older adults might really enjoy. You can reminisce. You can actually plug into YouTube reminiscing the 1940s and the 1950s, and they will come up and they'll do a whole reminiscing series for you. Do sports.
Yeah. So I have one more question. Do you
Sure.
have a story of maybe an unexpected breakthrough that maybe you've worked with a senior where maybe they were starting to close into themselves during that, dementia phase, and you were able to kind of pull them out and engage them? I think they're overlooked if you're not in this industry. If you're not in this industry, you're just thinking, oh yeah, there's activities, but they are so significant in keeping people, I think, alive and happy and just.
Yeah, I think that, reminiscing and music and reminiscing. Music is kind of magic. It's powerful. It evokes emotions in people. And I've seen people who have severe dementia, and this may sound, I hope that you understand this, is they hear a song and they cry a little bit.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a good sign they're feeling. Christine, let me ask you something. What's one of your favorite songs from when you were young, when you were very young?
Oh. I can't even think of
Think of a song that you hear that makes you feel something.
oh, Ave Maria. They
Okay.
play it every holidays, and I'm like, this is such a beautiful song. Like it just, yeah, love it.
So imagine if you're 80, 90 years old and you're hearing that song and it brings you back. So I think the breakthrough is really with music, what I've seen. The other day I was working with a client virtually, and he just kind of rambles, doesn't he? He just talks. And that's another thing. He just talks. I just
Yeah.
listen and try to kind of put the pieces together of what he's saying, and then try to get some normalcy to the conversation. But really, I'm just listening to him. And then we listened to music, and he stopped, and he got quiet, which he doesn't. He just rambles, and he started clapping his hands like this. That's a breakthrough.
Yeah.
It's showing that somebody's feeling something. I have a client the other day who I'm doing one of the websites I really want to encourage people to look at, to consider. It's called lifebio.org, lifebio.org. I've used this quite a few times now with clients. It tells your story. Some of it can be very thorough. Otherwise, you could just do like a 25 question story. And I was working with this woman on Monday, and I said, "This, do you remember your grandparents?" And she went, and she started smiling and laughing, and she felt so much joy in that moment because she was remembering her grandparents, her grandfather, and she shared memories with me. So reminiscing is where you can get a lot of breakthrough and joy out of people because they're remembering the good times of their life. And as we know, with dementia, our our old memories are more vivid in our brains. They last so much longer. So accessing those memories is where you're going to get the most breakthrough for people.
Yeah.
Okay, and the most success.
Yeah.
Also, another website, not a website, a couple catalogs that you can look, that I get a lot of my supplies from. It's called NASCO Senior Activities, NASCO, NASCO.com, or SNS Arts and Crafts. And you can get a lot of nice supplies for your loved one. Like these, like this is a conversation card for your loved one. These are conversation cards designed for people with dementia. And I will do this all the time. So tell me what this is. They look at it, says chocolate. It's an easy word. And in the back, there's questions. So it's all done for you.
Oh, not, yeah. I remember seeing those cards at your last presentation.
Mm-hmm. And also, if they're listening to music, music is probably the best tool for all of us. Put headphones on if they can't hear very well. If somebody's not responding, a lot of times it's because they can't hear you. Okay? Put headphones on. Not those little earbuds that some of us are using. Over the ear. They're much more comfortable. And you can get wireless ones. And those are much more effective.
Have you seen the virtual reality goggles? Have you seen those yet?
I saw that on they were doing that in assisted living with some elderly people. I say try it, see what happens. For some people, it might be too real.
Yeah.
People didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
The virtual stuff is harder for older adults because they didn't have it when they were growing up. So,
yeah. Well, I can say the silver lining in COVID-19 era is the digital divide is shrinking. I'm starting to see a lot more seniors saying, okay, I'll try this Zoom thing. I'll FaceTime. And, a lot more grandkids are starting to call their grandparents.
That's so positive. It's
Yeah.
really about connecting. It's about a moment of joy in a person's life during the day, and no matter what it is. And maybe it's just a few minutes. It's just finding something that they feel successful in, that maybe it could be anything, that they feel like they've accomplished something. They've had some success in a day. That's what we all want. And we're all feeling kind of a little unproductive right now. So, just finding whatever they enjoy. what they can do, something that doesn't remind them that they have dementia.
Yeah.
Try to make sure they're not reminded of it. So if you start seeing that somebody gets frustrated, I stop doing it.
Yeah.
Try a little exercise, go out for a walk. If you can, if they can walk, go for a themed walk. Put a theme together. Say, let's go out today and find something that's everything that we can that's green.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make a list before we leave of things that maybe we want to find, kind of like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
So you're kind of adding a little something to your walk. So it's not just a walk.
Yeah. Yeah. And you never know what can trigger somebody. I went one time to check on a friend of mine. I helped place her father, and he was or is a diehard Niner fan. And she said, this is our first week at this care home. Can you just kind of pop in and check in? I was like, absolutely. Popped in, checked in, and I had a Raider shirt on. I said, hey, we're supposed to go for a walk. Let's go. He was like, I'm not going with you.
No, I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
I had to literally go outside, turn my shirt inside out, and then redo.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, with somebody like him, I would probably be YouTubing 49ers, playoff games and plays and football, anything. Yeah. I have a client that is visually impaired that I'm doing virtual with, and he can't see the book I'm reading him, but it's about baseball, and it's all these old baseball players. But once I mention Joe DiMaggio or Babe Ruth, he lights up because he remembers their names.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It's just
learn something new.
Yeah.
Do something new with your family that maybe you want to learn about, and keep them sitting right next to you to see if they're interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are doing virtual activities for folks that want that, as well as virtual activities for the care homes as well.
Well, yes. And we were doing group activities at the beginning, but now in the care facilities, they can't congregate together doing groups.
Yeah.
So we're just doing one-on-one, and we're finding things that people enjoy. I'm doing some of the life stories with a few people. I have a client that tells me the same story every single time. I'm with them several times, and I just keep pumping them up. Oh, I keep saying to him, he tells me that he loves to give back to people, and he used to do these things for certain people. And all I say is, you're such an amazing person. I love hearing about all the things you've done for other people during your life. And we have the same conversation every single time I meet him. That's okay.
Yeah.
It takes a little patience, but it's all about making somebody feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Make them feel good.
Was there any last moments or anything else you'd want to share?
I think try something. Think out of the box. Try something that you haven't tried before. Maybe try watercolors. Maybe try making a collage. This is a collage I did a long time ago with a magazine on some of my favorite things like cooking and yoga and coffee and cutting them out. Try something new. Try something different.
Yeah.
Think out of the box and take the pressure off of you, though. And don't worry if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work. And realize that sometimes nothing works at the moment.
Yeah.
You can try and try and try, but nothing works at the moment. Let it go. Come back later or the next day, because you don't know what somebody's feeling inside. So.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate all your time today. And
my pleasure. It's so great. I hope to hear from some of you. If there's anything I can do, I am more than happy to talk.
Now, are you on Facebook? Can people connect with you on Facebook?
I am on Facebook. I'm just trying to put together my activity program, but you can find me on Facebook, Brenda Dickinson. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I will tag you in this video on Facebook.
Thank you so much, Christine.
All right, take care.
You're doing a great thing to help people, Christine.
Thank you for all you do.
Much.
All
okay,
right.
take care.
Bye-bye. Definitely lots of trial and error. Well, thank you so much for your time. So how can folks get a hold of you?
You can reach me at Bren, that's BREN 71657 @gmail.com.